Ice, ice, icicle, pop, pop, popsicle. Test, test, testing, 1, 2, 1, 2. We're doing a lot of you have heard me do that before. I just wanted to do it one last time while I still could. So I'm not a one-trick pony. I've got other jokes up my sleeve, but I had to get that out of the way. So for those of you who don't know, my name is Lynch. A lot of you might know me as Bruiser. I'm one capstone presentation, 2 finals tomorrow that I'm probably not going to do well on, and 9 days away from graduating and getting my degree from the journalism school. So that's exciting. Yeah, there's not much in the world like going to the #1 journalism school and getting a degree to use that to get into the 65th best law school. I didn't have any cute pictures of me sipping champagne by the columns, so I haven't posted anything on Instagram. So if you're my friend, this is your first time finding out, I meant to do it that way, I just couldn't. But I have decided to go to law school here. So although I'm a senior and graduating, I'll get to live in the great city of Columbia, Missouri for 3 more years. So that's pretty sweet. Yeah. I'm not like that excited, to be honest, for school. So that's all good. But before I get going, just so you guys get to know a little bit more about me, I've got a couple things I want to share. One, I went bowling last night, and I played 4 games of bowling. I bowled 4 games. And my arm hurts really bad. Like it felt like I lifted for like 3 hours yesterday. I woke up and tried to put my shirt on and it was terrible. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that I've been keeping stats this semester on how many times I've gone to Addison's late night happy hour and how many times I've gone to Shakespeare's. And the only reason I'm telling you guys this is because I feel a lot better about sharing it than just keeping it to myself. So Addison's late night happy hour, I've been there 28 times, and that's just this semester, so that's like 15 weeks, so that's almost 2 nights a week. And this one's way worse. Shakespeare's for lunch, I've gone 43 times. In 15 weeks. That's legitimately like almost 3 times a week. So they've got those cards, it's like 12 slices for free 2 slices, and that's been my lifesaver. So that teaches you 3 things about me. 1, I like beer. 2, I like pizza. And 3, I need to get better at saving money. But without further ado, as you may have deducted, I have kind of self-titled this talk, Faith in College. And so there's 2 things I really like. I feel like I've gotten the college part down pretty good, and I'm still working on the faith part. But I think that's kind of how most of us are. And so what I want to do, I've told you a lot about like the things I like, my passions, but I want to get into my faith over these last 4 years. So what I'm going to do now is just go through a quick rundown of these last 4 years, what I've done in my faith journey. So, freshman year, those of you who know me pretty well have probably heard this story before, but for the entire first semester, I did not step through the doors of the Newman Center. Didn't go to Mass at all, definitely didn't come to E3. The closest I actually got to the Newman Center that semester was a homecoming football game. We were playing Florida, and it was a 6 p.m. kickoff. And me and my buddies got up early, started getting after it a little bit, and by mid-afternoon, I had passed out on the stairs, like in the corner by the chapel, by the parking lot. And I woke up a couple hours later, had a beverage, and got to the football game. So that was my Newman experience first semester of college. Got a little bit better, but not a whole lot better that second semester. I didn't go to Mass for like the first month, and completely, I do not know the reason why. I wasn't invited or compelled in any reason that I know of, but I decided to go to Mass. And I was just kind of getting through it, and then they started doing announcements, so I was like in that like typical debate of like, do I leave now or do I stay? And I decided to stay because it was like my first time. I didn't want to like people to judge me, and they didn't know me. But a girl named Jess Lee, who some of you know, some of you probably don't, she made an announcement, yeah, and she's awesome. She made an announcement for the Awakenings retreat at Newman. And the way she phrased it was, this is the only sentence I heard of that whole announcement. If you're looking for something to do for Lent, you should go on Awakenings. And so I heard Lent, and I was like, oh right, that's a thing. So I'm like, what am I going to give up for Lent? So it's coming up. I was like, should I give up sweets? It's like, absolutely not. Like the cookies from Emporium, those are like ingrained in my daily schedule. For breakfast, usually. So then immediately my brain next was like, okay, I can do this, I'm going to give up drinking. And I thought about that, and I was like, absolutely not. And so I was like, you know what, fine, I'll go on this retreat. And I went on it. It didn't like change my life in any crazy way. But I did meet a lot of really cool people, got plugged into a Bible study, started coming to E3, but didn't really care. That was my freshman year of faith in college. And so fast forward, sophomore year, I kind of just jumped right into it. I really took a lot of steps. I got into discipleship, which for those of you who don't know, it's kind of just like a one-on-one partnership, friendship, where you can go on the faith journey, have somebody for accountability, anytime you're struggling, and just really guide you along in the faith. So I did that. I had disciples of my own. I led Bible studies, went to Bible studies, went to E3, went to daily adoration, went to daily mass. Like literally just went head in and just was doing everything I possibly could to grow in the faith. That summer I actually served as a summer missionary at Life Teen Summer Camps in California, which was awesome, leading high school kids in a Catholic summer camp. And then all of that kind of propelled me to junior year, take on all these leadership roles at Newman. So I became the evangelization director for the Catholic Student Association. I became the EDGE intern, where I helped lead the middle school ministry here. Still led Bible studies, and it literally felt like I lived here. Like I probably spent an average of 5 hours a day inside these doors in the Newman Center. And then that brings me now to senior year, where my involvement at the Newman Center has pretty much been Sunday Mass, the occasional E3, and the occasional Power Hour. And then outside Newman, I still like to pray, and I do this thing called spiritual direction, which for those of you who don't know what spiritual direction is, it's basically discipleship, but with someone who's older than you and trained to do it. So it's usually a priest or a religious sister, and it's really awesome. Meet like once a month. It changes depending on who's doing it. And they just go through your struggles, your questions, and just really guide you in the faith. And so that's been my faith in college. And I know that was just a lot about me and the things I've done, but the reason I share that is I think I've kind of run the gauntlet of faith in college. And I really hope that each and every one of you can put yourself somewhere along that spectrum. Whether you haven't been to Mass in a few months, whether you feel like you haven't left this place in a few months. I've been there, and I'm here right now. And that's kind of where I'm at. A lot of you might be thinking too, based off of that my faith has fallen away senior year. And for your definition, for a lot of people's ideas of it, you might be right. But what I want to share with you guys today is that I don't think my faith has fallen off. I think my faith has changed a lot. I think it's developed a lot. And I think this last year has been the most influential and transformative year in terms of my relationship with Jesus. And so, I mentioned earlier spiritual direction. I'm in spiritual direction with a guy named Father Ryan. He's actually the pastor at Michigan State. I met him at a retreat a couple years ago, and he's just like the coolest dude I have ever met. He's super Irish. He's got fiery red hair. He drinks beer. He literally left the seminary for like one semester because he was like wanted to go party. And that made me fall in love with the dude. He went back to seminary, and now he's like one of the coolest priests. He golfs every week with Tom Izzo. He was the basketball coach at Michigan State. So I met him at this retreat, and we just kind of hit it off. Became really good friends. And it wasn't until a few months later we decided to start spiritual direction, which has been a huge blessing. But it was actually like the week before senior year started. We were at spiritual direction just over FaceTime, and he said something that completely transformed the way I view the faith. What he said is, your faith is not about determining what you do, it's about determining who you are and whose you are. I'll say that again, your faith is not about determining what you do, it's about discovering who you are and whose you are. So when he said that, it just kind of hit me like a brick wall. Because I had realized that up until that point, for 3 years, my faith had been directly tied to what I did. Whether it was good or bad. If I was taking leadership roles and praying for an hour a day, I felt really good about my faith. If I was slacking off in prayer or not doing much around Newman, I felt really bad about my faith. Or if I occasionally slipped up and did something bad, I felt really bad about my faith. And it wasn't until then that I realized over the last 3 years, really my whole life, Jesus had just been trying to slowly reveal to myself who I am and whose I am. And so I hope you guys kind of picked up on this. That those whole 4 years I just went through about my faith was kind of a lot of BS, right? Like I didn't tell you about my faith. I basically read a faith resume. And that was what I thought my faith was up until that point. And so I kind of want to flip the script here. I'm going to go back through those 4 years and give you just a better understanding of what that faith journey looked like. Hopefully a little more raw. Hopefully take out the BS and just go through it one more time. So freshman year, I'm gonna take a sip of water. That happens now, not freshman year. So freshman year, I have no better way to describe my faith than that I was wandering. And I didn't feel like I was missing out on anything. I didn't feel like I was missing the faith or missing God. I was just kind of hanging out, like running all over the place. And by the grace of God, I went to Mass that week. And I went on awakenings. And although I was still running all over the place, I was at least letting Christ and Christ-like friends run with me. And it wasn't until later on that I realized how influential that was in my faith journey. So sophomore year comes around, and I'm going to talk to the fellas here, but hopefully the ladies can relate a little bit too. So you know when you're like at a party or at a bar, or even just like a social gathering, and you like lock eyes with a girl across the room, and she smiles at you, and you're just like maybe this is something, right? And then later on you run into her, and you start a conversation. And it's like going really well. Like she might be laughing at your jokes. She's like asking you questions about yourself, all these things. And you're like, getting like really excited. Then there's something like, maybe you like say a joke, and she'll like grab your arm and like laugh really loud. And then like clicks, like, okay, she for sure is into me. I see Caius nodding, he knows. I'm glad it works for someone. I had to Google what it was like to know a girl likes you. Everybody knows, Caius has it figured out. No, but the reason I say that is, and I don't mean this to like sound as stupid as it's probably going to, but like, Jesus Christ was hardcore flirting with me at the beginning of sophomore year. Like, he was telling me like so many things that just like had me interested. I was like trying to figure it all out. And he was just inviting me to like talk to him more and more. And it wasn't until then, and I don't mean this in like some sappy Hunter Hayes kind of way, that I had ever really felt wanted, right? And not just wanted for like he wanted me for me, not for him. It wasn't selfish. I think the best way I've ever heard this described is that our God is jealous, but he's not selfish. He's jealous, but he's not selfish. So he wants us, and he's jealous when we're not with him or doing things for him or trying to be with him. But he's not selfish. He doesn't do it because he needs the attention or the love back. He does it for us. And so sophomore year, then I was posed like with this situation, like I know he likes me. Do I like him back? Like, do I want to like start a relationship with him, or do I want to like ghost him or play hard to get? Like, how do I go about this? And I will die on the hill that me deciding to dive into that relationship was the best decision I will ever make in my life. Because since that day, I have totally transformed pretty much everything about my life. And I'll hopefully get into that a little bit further. But that is what led me to get into all those things that I started talking about, to the daily prayer. I was truly trying to grow in that relationship and do everything I could to grow in the relationship. So I led throughout that summer at Life Teen Summer Missions, and then it brought me into junior year. So all that had kind of developed this desire to take on more roles and responsibilities, which I told you about. But I came in junior year, and honestly, like I felt like I had it figured out. Like I had a pretty good grasp on the scripture, on church teachings, like apologetics. I had evangelized to a good amount of people. I felt like I was at a pretty good place with my faith. I didn't like have a huge desire to know more and more because I didn't know what else I needed. And honestly, like life outside the faith was really good too. Like, I had a lot of awesome friends, school was going well, and I just like didn't have a ton to pray for. And I don't know about you guys, but for me, like the hardest time to pray is when I don't have something to pray for. If I'm not like going through a hard time, or if I'm not like really trying to grow in my faith at that time, I just like don't know what to do. And so I don't just mean this like it was like 2 weeks of like bad prayer. Legitimately my entire junior year, I was just like, I had an entire year, sophomore year, of just feeling wanted. And it was like honeymoon phase of this relationship with God. And then junior year, it all went away, right? The second half of my junior year, all my prayer was like, make me feel wanted again, right? And once again, I don't mean that in like some sad way. I wasn't like in the worst place ever. But it just felt like I had my arms wide open and God like wasn't making me feel that, right? And faith isn't all about feelings, but like it damn sure helps when you have feelings, right? So that was my junior year. Like it was tough. I tried to stick with it the best I could, but yeah, it was not the best year of faith. And so, fast forward again, senior year, I told you about that time with Father Ryan in spiritual direction. He said that, kind of rocked my world. It really made me reflect on not only those past 3 years, but where I was going to go in this next one. And so, by that time, I was like pretty sure I wanted to go to law school. I wasn't positive, but I had in my head like 5 years down the road, what's my life going to look like? And probably I'm going to be working like 75 hours a week. Hopefully, I might have like a wife and like maybe trying to start a family, right? And so the hour of daily adoration I have from 4 to 5, there's no shot I'm going to be able to do that in my life in 5 years, right? Daily mass, hopefully I can find ways to make it work, but there's no way I'm going to be able to do that every single day if I'm working 75 hours a week and trying to start a family. And so I had this like idea of intentionality with my faith life, what I wanted it to look like. And so I set like a few small goals. The small goals were make sure I go to mass every Sunday, make sure I have daily prayer, and then beyond that, do what I can to like live a grown-up faith life. Which I'm not saying that was the best plan, because this year I have had a harder time getting to prayer than I ever have. Like not going to adoration with other people, not coming to E3 as much. It does make prayer harder and that commitment harder. But like I said earlier in the talk, I think it's also been the most transformative. And I'll get to that a little bit later on too. But so that's kind of been those last 4 years from a little bit more raw sense of what the faith has looked like for me. And now I want to get into the top 4 things I learned about faith in college. And so I'm pretty sure I've got my capstone presentation next week. So I think this is going to be the last presentation where I'll ever be able to do something that I'm really passionate about, which is slideshow animations. So you're going to have to bear with me, because I did some like stupid little animations on this slide, but it was for my own good. It's very selfish. So without further ado, the first thing I learned about faith in college is that every invitation the Lord has for us is an invitation to say yes. The Lord is not asking me to say no to pornography. He's asking me to say yes to accepting His love and letting that fulfill me so I don't have to look for it in other places, right? More simply, He's not asking me to say no to the devil. He's asking me to say yes to Him and His love. The second one, that was my favorite. I almost did that for all 4. Okay. So God is trying to change what you desire, not what you do. So freshman year, I'll paint a picture to you. Pretty much 9 hours a day on Sunday, I would watch football. I would go drink beers with my friends like 2 or 3 nights during the week. Kind of really didn't like stress myself out a whole lot, right? I just did the things I loved. And now, I go watch football for about 8 hours on Sunday, and I go to drink beer with my friends like 2 to 3 times a week. And the Lord has not changed like the things I've done, the things I do, the things I love, the things I want to do with my life, right? He's not making my life worse. He's changing what I desire. So what do I mean by that? Once again, going back to freshman year, I didn't like write this in a journal, so this isn't fact, but I think these would have been my top 3 desires if you asked me like a month into college what I wanted to accomplish. So number 1, I had a desire to like get a degree / not fail out. Goal number 2, and this is like kind of funny but also kind of serious. Like I just wanted to get a girlfriend because I thought it'd be really cool to like have a girl come sleep, like spend the night at the dorms, right? And so for those of you who can't confer very well, I wanted to have sex. That was goal number 2. Goal number 3 was to win my fantasy football championship. And not to give anything away, but I accomplished 2 things, and I did win my fantasy football championship. Okay. So those are all like pretty bad desires, right? Like, if that's what you desire in life, something's wrong with you. And it's pretty sad I'm telling that to myself. Okay, it's senior year. And how have those desires changed, right? So desire number one, I don't just want to like be a little better or like not fail. My goal is to excel in everything I do, right? I want to be the best student I can be. I want to be the best member of an organization I can be. Eventually, I want to be the best professional I can be. I want to excel. And I think there's like a minor difference in excel and not fail, but I think it really, really changes the way you look at things and why you do what you do. Second thing, don't get me wrong, down the road, still want to have sex. But my desire is to be the best person I can be, the holiest person I can be, focus on myself, and keep my eyes out for a good holy girl that the Lord will bless me with, that I can have a future with. Right? So that's like once again, a minor switch, the same like real desire, but the way you desire it is totally different. Okay. Then the third thing, to win a fantasy football championship, which I'm going to hand the mic over here to Titus Welter, who got second place in our fantasy football league, and he's going to tell me who won our fantasy football league.
I can't remember.
I won, ladies and gentlemen, I won. Okay. Sorry, that was long-winded. Once again, God does not want to change what we do. We can still have fun the same ways we used to. He wants to change what we desire, what we value, right? He wants to change what's on our mind when we're doing those things, why we're doing the things that we're doing. And so, on to the third one, doubts will come. I was scrolling through Twitter the other day, and I saw this thread, and it was a Protestant pastor who had recently converted to atheism. And it was like the story of why, all the reasons, it was like 40 tweets. And typically, like when I want to see a tweet later, I'll like it, so that I can just go to my likes. But then I was like, if I like this reason to be atheist, that's probably not like good for the brand. So I decided not to like it, but I couldn't find the tweets. So I don't have it verbatim, but it was like something along the lines, it was like 40 tweets, but the like reasons he became atheist. And the two I remember the most were, I've been praying for 35 years, and I've never heard God's voice. And I have been praying for things to be healed and praying over people, and I've never seen a healing. And so, like, honestly, it makes you think, right? Like, I was reading through these tweets, and I was like, dang, this guy honestly, like, has some good points. But then I was like, all of his reasons not to are just things that didn't happen. And if your reason not to believe is that things don't happen, then I think it makes also sense to believe that when things do happen, you do believe. So, like, I don't want you guys to think that I don't doubt, right? I doubt frequently that Jesus Christ is present in the Eucharist. I doubt sometimes that Jesus Christ, like, rose from the dead. And that is the basis of our faith. But, like, I find myself doubting it. And the only solution I have to doubt is by using every doubt as a reassurance of the truth, right? I think the only explanation for doubt is that there's something that's making you not want to believe it. And for me, it helps to just believe that that's the devil hiding me from the truth or pulling me from the truth. And so if I'm being pulled from the truth through doubt, that means the devil's real. And if that's real, then that means God's real. So for me, it's just a quick, easy way that every time I experience doubt, to just be more assured that God is real. So that's just the advice I have for you. It's not going to like answer your questions or like prevent your doubt from coming. But I hope it gives you more like a validity in the faith and a strength in the faith when those doubts inevitably come. And so the fourth, this one should be short. Joy will come. To put it most plainly, all of the happiest moments of my life have been directly correlated with the times where I have been in the most unity with God. The times I can think the most are when I went on a mission trip to Haiti. I was like on cloud nine, right? Like it was, and like I said this in a talk like a year ago. Like it felt like a God high, but God highs aren't anything other than just you being close to God. It felt like mission trip to Haiti, the summer missions where I spent literally every day just praying, growing in relationship with Him. Those are the times where I've been like the most joyful, the most happy. And I'm just like confident that I'm not an idiot, and so I'm confident that that joy is God, right? And it doesn't make sense to me that it'd be anything else. So to kind of tie these two together, these last two, how boring would the faith be without doubt, and how boring would life be without the faith? I just can't imagine a life where I like didn't care about things or didn't think about things. And I think that kind of ties it all together, that this life is meant for us to have questions, and it's meant for us to hope that that answer is the God that we've come to know. And so the last thing here, as we all know, summer is coming up, and I think it is by far the hardest time to be a college Christian is during the summer. You don't have things like E3 or adoration or friends, most likely, that are willing to talk about the faith with you back home. And so I want to give you guys just a couple tips, and they're not really tips, it's just what I've done this senior year when I haven't been as close to the Newman Center, but I have been focusing on my relationship with God. And so the first thing is my prayer. I used to come to adoration and sit in the chapel for an hour a day, like that sophomore year, and I don't do that anymore. But what I've started to do is every night before I go to bed, I turn the TV off, turn my PlayStation off, whatever's going on, but I leave the lights on. And then I sit in my bed, because I have to get all the way out of my bed to go turn the lights off, and I know I'm not going to fall asleep with the lights on. So I turn everything off, sit in my bed, and I pray for 15 minutes. And that prayer is always just kind of like a reflection of the day. I do the spiritual exercises, the Ignatian meditation, just where the Lord is present in my life, where He wasn't. And it's very easy to just sit there at the end of the day, give thanks to the Lord, think about that relationship, and then go to bed happy, right? So that's the first thing, is just daily prayer. If you can't get to a chapel back home, I know you have a bed, and I know you have a room with lights on. So you can do it, I swear. The second thing is just keeping in mind those words that Father Ryan said. It's not about determining what you do. It's about discovering who you are and whose you are. And so, with nothing else, if nothing else, just spend this summer diving into discovering who you are and whose you are. And I say this, don't blind yourself into thinking that it has to be God, right? I hope for you the answer is yes, but if your prayer is just I know I'm God's, and that's it, that's not totally getting the point, right? You want to truly discover it for yourself. Why are you God's? Why do you want to be God's? And I don't know if this is making a lot of sense to you, but I just encourage you to dive deeper and deeper into prayer when asking that question of who you are and whose you are. And so, very last thing that I want to get to is prayer. And this is not a really deep thing to talk about, but it's something that I saw today on Facebook. Somebody was said something crazy. Somebody else jokingly said, "I'll pray for you." And then somebody else came in and was like, "Are you actually going to pray, or just say that to make you look better on social media?" Right? And that really struck a chord with me, because I could not tell you how many times over the last 4 years I've told someone I'm going to pray for them, and then I haven't done it, right? And when I talk about BSing the faith, to me I think that's a prime example, right? If I'm trying to put on this persona and tell people I'll pray for them, and I don't pray for them, I think that's a pretty terrible thing to do in the faith, right? And so I say that, and I say this to you now. I will be praying for this community, and I hope that you're praying for me. But this has been, for the last 4 years, I know a lot of what I said was that you don't need this, but this community has been what has transformed my faith, what has helped me grow in the faith. The people here have changed my life. So come to the community. I will be praying for it, praying for all of you, but do not be bound by Newman. Your faith is not Newman. And I just encourage you all to continue asking those questions to yourself. Thank you very much.